President Biden signed a presidential proclamation today to severely restrict asylum at the border. It's hard not to look at it through the prism of election year politics. This is an issue that President Biden has pulled on very weakly. It's a major concern for voters. And so this is a way for him to say, hey, I'm doing what I can. The Republicans are not helping me. This is a very closely resembles Senate legislation that failed in February with large support from Democrats, not universal, but large support from Democrats, but also nearly universal opposition from Republicans. So now this gives him at least a talking point where he can say, hey, I'm doing what I can with what I've got, with the cards I was dealt. So this asylum ban takes effect whenever arrests for illegal crossings top 2,500 a day. The last time that it was below 2,500 was in January 2021, Biden's first month in office. It was as high as more than 10,000 a day as recently as December. It has dropped significantly over the last 6 months as Mexico has stepped up enforcement. We're now around 3,500, 4,000 a day, which means that this measure takes effect immediately. It's in effect right now. It will end. It's temporary in the sense that it will end when illegal crossings drop to 1,500 for 7 days straight. Now that's going to be a much harder bar to meet. It's last time we were below 1,500 was during COVID. The measure itself is very significant potentially, but there are a lot of questions about how it will be enforced and whether the U.S. has enough money and enough legal support. It's almost certainly going to be challenged in court. The U.S. needs tremendous resources to be able to deport people on flights where people, from China, Kazakhstan, India, Cuba, all over the world are appearing at the border. It's very expensive and also requires a lot of diplomatic finesse to get these flights. Well, the way it'll work on the ground is if someone expresses fear of returning home and wants to apply for asylum and they can't because these rules are in effect, they'll be screened and subject to a higher screening standard than is in effect now. If they pass that, they could potentially get some kind of relief under alternative forms of asylum, for example, the UN Convention Against Torture, but it's going to be much harder. Unaccompanied children also will be exempt. And that's been a source of controversy because some parents may decide to send their children across at great danger without them knowing that they'll be exempt from these regulations. A senior administration official told reporters he expects the administration to get sued on anything it does on immigration from either the left or the right. And he's probably correct. It's a no-win situation for him. People on the left, his traditional supporters who he thrilled in the beginning of his administration, are saying that he's exposing migrants to danger by kicking them back to countries where they could be, their lives could be threatened, and violating U.S. international obligations. People on the right are saying this is something, and somewhat correctly, he's had these powers to do things like this already, and hasn't. Then again, he hasn't had the money to do it or the legal backing. So the right is basically saying, this is totally insufficient, and he's way too late and way too short.